Imagine a guy so lucky he dodged death in every battle. 11 horses shot out from under him, yet he walked away grinning. That's George Armstrong Custer, the Civil War star with golden hair and a wild streak. But on June 25, 1876, atop a Montana hill, he made an insane call, charging 2,000 warriors with no backup, like glory was his birthright. His luck ran dry, and it ended in a massacre. So was he a fearless hero or a reckless fool? His name's still hotly debated today. Stick with me to find out why this legend crashed so hard and what he's really remembered for. Okay, let's rewind the clock. Way back to December 5th, 1839, in a little Ohio town called New Rumley. That's where George Armstrong Custer popped into the world, the baby of 5 kids in a tight-knit family. Now, little George couldn't quite say Armstrong. It came out more like Auntie, so his siblings slapped him with the nickname Young Auntie. Cute, right? But this kid wasn't here to stay small. Early on, he got shipped off to live with his big sister in Michigan. Think of it like a trial run for independence. By 1856, at just 16, George snagged a teaching certificate. Yep, he could have been that strict schoolmaster with a ruler in hand, but nah, he hated it. The classroom felt like a cage, and this guy had bigger dreams brewing. He wanted action, glory, something epic. So in 1857, he waltzed into West Point, the famous military academy. Sounds promising, huh? Well, not exactly. George wasn't there to ace tests. He was more about pulling pranks and stirring up trouble. Picture this, cadets running wild, George smirking in the background. He racked up demerits like they were trophies. Extra guard duty on weekends became his second home. It gets better or worse, depending on how you look at it. One time he got hauled into a court-martial. Why? 2 cadets were slugging it out, and George just stood there, probably thinking, hey, free entertainment. He didn't stop the fight, and the brass weren't amused. Punishment piled up, but somehow he scraped by. June 1861 rolls around, and guess what? He graduates, dead last in his class. Number 34 out of 34. Ouch. But here's the thing, that chaotic rule-breaking streak, it was just the start. This prankster was about to stumble into a war that'd make him a star. Let's see how. All right, let's dive into the action. It's June 1861, and the United States is a mess. The Civil War's just erupted, North versus South, and who's stepping into the chaos? George Armstrong Custer, that scrappy West Point grad who barely made it out the door. He's 21, fresh-faced, and itching for a fight. No desk job for this guy. He jumps straight into the Union cavalry, saddles up, grabs a saber, and rides off to war. The country's splitting at the seams, and Custer, he's ready to stitch his name into history. Fast forward 2 years, June 1863. Custer's only 23, but boom, he's promoted to brigadier general. Youngest in the Union Army, no less. They start calling him the Boyd General, and let me tell you, he's strutting around like he owns the place. Picture him, long golden hair flowing, uniform sharp, that cocky grin plastered on his face. He's not just some kid anymore. He's leading men into battle, and he's about to prove why that star on his shoulder isn't just for show. Here's where it gets epic. The Battle of Gettysburg, July 1863. It's one of the bloodiest clashes of the war. Tens of thousands dead, the fate of the Union hanging by a thread. Day 3, Confederate General J.E.B. Stuart's got a sneaky plan. He's swinging his cavalry around to smash the Union's rear. A surprise attack that could have turned the tide. But Custer's on the case. He spots Stuart's move, rounds up his own horsemen, thousands of them, and charges in like a thunderstorm. Sabers flash, rifles crack, horses scream as they collide. Dust chokes the air, and there's Custer, right up front, hair whipping like a battle flag. It's chaos, it's brutal, and it works. His men drive Stuart back, breaking the Confederate push. Historians still argue about it, but plenty say Custer's wild charge helped clinch Gettysburg for the Union, a massive win that shifted the whole war. And that's just the start. Custer doesn't play it safe like other officers, barking orders from some hilltop tent. No way, he's out there, leading from the front, first into the fray. Over the next 2 years, he's in battle after battle, and here's the crazy part. 11 horses get shot out from under him. 11, imagine it. Bullets zipping past, cannonballs tearing up the ground. His horse collapses, and Custer just leaps onto another one, unfazed. Not a single serious scratch. People start whispering about Custer's luck. This guy's got some kind of magic shield, like death's too scared to touch him. It's unreal, and it's turning him into a legend. Now, let's jump to the endgame, April 1865. The war's almost done, and Confederate General Robert E. Lee's on his last legs, running for dear life near Appomattox, Virginia. Custer's cavalry gets the call. Cut him off. They ride hard, block Lee's escape route, and trap him like a fox in a snare. Lee's got no moves left. Out comes the white flag, surrender, and who's there to snatch it? Custer, of course, galloping up with that trademark grin. April 9th, he's in the room as Lee and Ulysses S. Grant sit down to sign the terms of surrender. The Civil War's over, and Custer's right at the heart of it. He's a major general now, commanding whole divisions, a bona fide hero. And here's a cherry on top. General Philip Sheridan's so blown away by Custer's guts that he buys the table they signed the surrender on, a little wooden piece of history, and hands it over to Custer's wife, Libby, with a note saying, "Thanks for your husband's service." Classy move, right? By the time the smoke clears, Custer's not just that West Point troublemaker anymore. He's a household name, a golden boy of the Union, carried to the top by bravery and that insane luck. But war heroes don't always stay golden. Next, meet the man behind the medals. Now, let's step off the battlefield for a minute and meet the man behind the saber. It's February 1864. The Civil War's still raging, and George Custer's got more on his mind than just cannons and cavalry charges. He's fallen hard for Elizabeth Bacon, Libby, as he calls her, a judge's daughter from Monroe, Michigan. Trouble is, her dad's not thrilled. To him, Custer's just some brash soldier boy, way beneath his precious Libby. But Custer? He's not one to back down. He woos her with charm, persistence, and probably that dazzling grin of his until the old man finally caves. On February 9th, 1864, they tie the knot in a little church, all lace and promises. It's a love story straight out of a novel, and it's just getting started. From that day on, George and Libby are inseparable, at least in spirit. He's off fighting, she's back home, but they keep the flame alive with letters. Oh, these aren't your average how's the weather notes. These are passionate, heart-on-the-sleeve pages, hundreds of them over the years. Custer pours out his soul, Libby writes back with equal fire, and you can almost feel the sparks jumping off the paper. She's not just his wife, she's his muse, his cheerleader, his rock. He's out there chasing glory, and she's right there with him, dreaming of the fame they'll share. It's a partnership built on love and ambition, and it's as fierce as any battlefield he's faced. But if you think Custer's all serious romance, think again. He's got a flair that's impossible to miss. This guy's a walking spectacle. Picture him, long, golden curls cascading down his shoulders, perfumed with cinnamon oil. Yeah, cinnamon. He struts around in velvet jackets, gold lace dripping from the cuffs, and tops it off with these massive sombreros that scream, "Look at me." Late 17th century fashion in the middle of a war. Why not? He's not just dressing for the day, he's dressing for the legend he wants to become. Every glance in the mirror is a rehearsal for the history books. And Libby? She's all in, playing the devoted lady to his dashing knight. It's like they're starring in their own epic tale, and they love every minute of it. Then there's this quote, straight from Custer's mouth, that sums him up perfectly. "I would be willing, yes glad, to see a battle every day during my life." That's not just bravado, that's his heartbeat. He doesn't just want action, he craves it, lives for it, thrives on it. Every clash, every charge, it's another shot at glory, another chapter for the story he's writing with his life. And Libby's right there, egging him on. She doesn't flinch at the danger, she embraces it, because she knows that's who he is, a warrior chasing a spotlight brighter than the sun. She's not just along for the ride, she's helping steer it, polishing his armor, literal and figurative, so the world will see him shine. Together, they're a team built for greatness. Libby's his anchor, his inspiration, feeding that fire inside him that says, go bigger, go bolder. He's already a Civil War hero, but that's not enough. Not for Custer, not for Libby. They've got their eyes on something grander, something immortal. And with the war winding down, that hunger's about to push them into new territory. With Libby by his side, Custer chased fame westward, where trouble was waiting. The Civil War's over, the Union's patched up, and by 1866, George Custer's ready for a new chapter. He's promoted to lieutenant colonel, still a big deal, and sent westward to Kansas with Libby in tow. Why? America is expanding, settlers are pouring into native lands, and the government's got what they call an Indian problem. Custer's job? Deal with it. The wide open plains stretch out before him, wild, untamed, and nothing like the battlefields back east. He's stepping into a different kind of war now, one where the rules are about to get a lot murkier. Fast forward to 1873, and Custer's deep in the fray. He's stationed at Yellowstone, guarding a Northern Pacific Railroad survey, a fancy way of saying he's babysitting tracks through Indian territory. That's when he first locks horns with two legends, Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse, leaders of the Sioux and Cheyenne. These aren't just any foes. They're warriors fighting for their homes, their lives, their everything. Tensions are already sky high, and then the buffalo hunts start. Trains roll in, passengers lean out, shooting buffalo for sport. Bang, bang, bang. To the settlers, it's a game. To the Plains Indians, it's a gut punch. Those herds are their lifeline, food, clothes, shelter, and now they're dropping like flies. Custer's unit drives off Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse this time, but the air's thick with bad blood. He doesn't know it yet, but he's just met the men who'll haunt his final days. Trouble's brewing closer to home, too. Custer's got a reckless streak that won't quit. One day, he ditches his regiment, leaves them flat, to gallop off and see Libby. No permission, no warning, just gone. The brass catch wind, and bam, he's hauled before a court-martial again. This isn't West Point pranks anymore. It's serious. They strip his rank, dock his pay, and slap him with a year-long suspension. But here's the twist. General Philip Sheridan, his old Civil War buddy, can't let him sit on the sidelines. After just 10 months, Sheridan calls him back, saying, "We need you." Custer's back in the saddle, but that stunt, it's a glaring red flag. This guy's brave, sure, but discipline, not his strong suit. And out here, that's a problem. Fighting Indians isn't like fighting Confederates. Those Southern soldiers had supply lines, strategies Custer could read. The Sioux and Cheyenne? They know every hill, every river, every twist of this land, like the back of their hands. They're not just soldiers, they're survivors, fueled by a desperation Custer's men can't match. His cavalry's trained for quick, flashy charges, but out on the plains, it's guerrilla warfare, hit and run, ambushes, battles that don't play by his rules. He's learning fast. This enemy's tougher, smarter, and way more motivated than anything he faced before. Then comes 1876, and the stakes skyrocket. Back in 1868, the Black Hills in South Dakota were promised to the Sioux as part of the Great Sioux Reservation. Sacred land, off limits. But guess what? Gold's discovered there, glittering in the dirt, and suddenly that promise is dust. The government reneges, settlers swarm in, and the Sioux are furious. Custer gets the orders. Round them up, force them onto a new reservation, clear the way. Most don't go quietly. Instead, they head to the Little Bighorn River, joining Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse to make a stand. Custer's riding into a powder keg, and he doesn't even know how big it is. By 1876, the stage was set for his biggest gamble yet. Here's where it all falls apart. It's June 25th, 1876, and the Montana sun beats down on George Custer as he crests a hill above the Little Bighorn River. Below him sprawls the largest Indian encampment the Great Plains have ever seen. Over 2,000 Sioux and Cheyenne warriors, a sea of defiance led by Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse. Custer's got 600 men in his 7th Cavalry, and he's part of a grand plan. Link up with Generals Terry and Gibbon, surround the camp, and force a surrender. It's a trap waiting to snap shut. He's supposed to scout, wait, and strike together. But waiting's never been Custer's game. That golden hair catches the wind, his eyes gleam with that old glory-hungry fire, and he makes a call that'll echo through history. He's going in right now, no backup, no second thoughts. He splits his force like a gambler cutting a deck. One group guards the supplies, 2 under Major Reno and Captain Benteen. Swings south to hit the camp's edge. Custer takes 210 of his finest, his trusted corps, and charges north, aiming to smash the Indians from behind. It's bold, it's brash, it's pure Custer. Except this time he's blind. He doesn't know the South groups are about to crumble, doesn't see the sheer wall of warriors waiting below. Down there, it's not just numbers. It's firepower. The Indians wield repeating rifles, spitting lead faster than Custer's single-shot carbines can answer, and bows that loose arrows like a storm. His 210 thunder into the valley, hooves pounding, sabers raised, but they're riding into a meat grinder. Reno's southern attack collapses first. His men charge, meet a tidal wave of resistance, and bolt back in a panicked retreat, leaving Custer isolated, clueless. Up north, he plunges ahead, thinking he's got the upper hand. The air explodes, arrows slice through, bullets rip the ranks apart, warriors swarm, closing in from every side. It's not a battle, it's a massacre unfolding in real time. His men fall fast, horses scream, bodies pile up, and the line shatters. Within an hour, one frantic, deafening hour, all 210 are wiped out. Every last one, except a lone messenger Custer sent racing south with a scribbled plea. Come quick, that notes all that escapes. Custer himself goes down hard, found later sprawled on that hill with his brother and nephew, 2 bullets in him, one near his heart, one in his head. Custer's luck, that charmed shield that carried him through 11 fallen horses, it's gone, shattered in the Montana dust. The horror doesn't end there. The Sioux and Cheyenne, fueled by rage and ritual, descend on the dead. They strip the bodies, slash them, leave a grisly mark on the field. Custer's no exception. His corpse is mutilated, details hushed up later to spare Libby the truth. Legend whispers Cheyenne women pierced his eardrums, so he'd listen better in the afterlife. A bitter jab at the man who wouldn't wait. It's a scene of total ruin, a hero's end turned nightmare. And where were Benteen and Reno? Custer's desperate come quick reached them, but they didn't move. They'd fought their own hell south, barely scraped by, and now they sat miles away, licking wounds. Was it cowardice? Malice? They hated Custer, hated each other, bad blood ran deep. Or maybe it was just exhaustion, drunken stupor, fear of the same fate. File says we'll never know, but one thing's clear, no help came. Custer's gamble, his arrogance, his lone charge, it all crashed here, a slaughter that stunned a nation. Custer was gone, but his story wasn't over yet. The dust settles at Little Bighorn, but the shockwaves don't. Custer's death, June 25, 1876, hits America like a thunderclap. Newspapers scream headlines. The public roars for blood. This isn't just a loss. It's the U.S. Army's biggest defeat in the Plains Indian Wars, and they want payback. The government doubles down, hunting the Sioux and Cheyenne with a vengeance. By 1877, it's over. Crazy Horse, that fierce warrior who crushed Custer, surrenders under relentless pressure. The Plains Indian Wars fade out, but Custer's name, it's just starting to burn brighter. Enter Libby Custer. She's a widow now, but she's not done fighting, not for survival, but for his story. For 57 years, 57, she pours her heart into books, lectures, anything to paint George as a gallant hero, a golden knight felled by fate. She's relentless, and it works. People buy it, literally. Then there's Buffalo Bill Cody, a former scout-turned-showman who takes it up a notch. His Wild West show rolls across America, reenacting Custer's last stand with real native warriors who fought that day. It's theater, it's spectacle, and it keeps Custer's legend alive, larger than life. But the shine doesn't last forever. Libby dies in 1933, and the cracks start showing. Without her voice, doubts creep in. Was he really a flawless hero, or a glory-hungry fool who dragged his men to doom? The debate heats up. People pick sides, and it's messy. His own words don't help. My Life on the Plains, his autobiography, flies off shelves, painting him bold and daring. Hollywood jumps in. Ronald Reagan plays him in Santa Fe Trail, all charm and bravado. Yet the questions linger. Brave leader or reckless gambler? The New York Tribune once called him a first-class hero for fiction. But today, that's up for grabs. Custer's legacy is a tug-of-war. Hero to some, cautionary tale to others. His flamboyant shadow stretches long, daring us to judge. So what do you think? Let's wrap this up. Wow, what a ride, right? Custer's tale is wild, from dodging bullets in the Civil War to that insane last charge at Little Bighorn. Hero, fool, or maybe a bit of both? I'm dying to know what you think. Drop your hot take in the comments below. Was he a fearless legend who got unlucky, or a reckless dreamer who rolled the dice one too many times? Let's get that debate going. If you loved this dive into history, smash that like button. It really helps us out. And don't go anywhere. Hit subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss a story like this. Want more epic tales? Check out our next video. Thanks for watching, you awesome history buffs. See you in the next one.